Hey guys, Anthony Stormrider here with another episode of The Bloody Point, this in the category of tips. It's been a while since I've done one of these. I've been a bit busy with the game itself and other projects and real life, of course. But I've had a couple of these videos, the actual components made for some time, and I'm going to be putting them together. I have one on seals, as you can see here, one on vessels, and one on the entry-level economy. So all of these things are ways in which you can get additional and better stats as you progress through the lifetime of your character and your abilities in terms of crafting gear or acquiring crafted gear from others. This particular one here are seals. You see I was making them with the rune crafter. They allow you to change the modifiers that armor gives you to go from combat stats or harvesting crafting stats to harvesting crafting stats rather. So you can see here I'm going to be creating a plate set. You can do this on any armor set, but I'm doing plate. I'm also going to include a mistake I made here just so people know to avoid it. When you have a seal, in order to activate it on the layer, the optional layer, you need to use a specific material. So in this case I should have used silver. I did not. You're going to see that the result is not going to have the crafting modifiers. It's going to have the traditional modifier for the material type that I used. The same is true for the creation of the seal itself. There are specific combinations of materials you need to use to get the particular seal that you want. I'll include a video showing all those combinations and link in the description. So I have one piece which was an error. I'm going to leave that. This is not an optimal set. I've made a couple of errors in creating this. This was mainly for testing purposes. And as you can see, this is from some time ago, a previous build. Here I use silver and I get the crafting result. So we have the blacksmithing base modifier and then the experimentation success modifier. Now you can get pips with these optionals, with the crafting seals. You cannot get pips, which is the most valuable, of course, typically. You can get pips on jewelry, however, and that is another source of this type of advanced stat acquisition, shall we say. In different stages of the game, the acquisition of these stats is important because early on you're going to lack good gear, you're going to lack deep training. I'm going to speed this up so we don't have to sit through that. If only crafting were this fast. Look how fast it is. Oh my god, it's so good. This is what I think of when I think of factories. Just watching stuff go. We're not there yet. Okay, so as I was saying, early stage of the game, you're not going to have access to all this deep skill training, so your success rate on crafting is going to be low. It's going to limit what you can do, what materials you can use, and still have reasonable success. So there are multiple ways to compensate for that, and one of them is through these crafting seals. You can get a little bit more success on your crafts, and that will help. Especially when you're trying to transition from one quality to another, to go from white to green to blue, that can make quite a difference. So another error I made here, which I wasn't thinking, is that to achieve the 50% mark with the bonus, you do not have to put all your pips on one line or one stat in the experimentation. You can do 2 pips on one line and the remaining pips on the other line to hit that 50%. I kept it in here though, just to show what not to do. So here we're looking at the breastplate. It was the first item I made because I'm going to put it on before making the rest. If you look at my experimentation points and the blacksmithing, I'm at 74.3 and at 53.0. These of course are influenced not only by the individual blacksmithing nodes but by your stats as well. Strength in the case of blacksmithing, intelligence in the case of assembly, and then strength again for experimentation points. My vessel here is level 30 and I've, as you can see, accumulated 247 strength, which is not bad. It's not optimal. There are ways of getting more, and again depending on where you are in training. One of the things that's important in Crowfall, which is often overlooked, is that in the lifetime of your character or your account, if you want to look at it that way, you're going to see drastic changes in where you're getting your stats from. So I'm going to put the breastplate on. If you watch, you'll see my blacksmithing assembly stat will change from 74.3 to I believe it was 76. Let's see. Of course, I forgot that I have to actually be able to equip the plate, so I have to put on a proficiency rune. You know, leveling vessels in your EK is pretty worth the time you put into it, simply because you're going to be using that thing for a while, and it's going to influence any crafting you do there. So we'll put the blacksmithing breastplate on, and you will see that I will go from 74.3, there we go, it rounds up to a higher value, 75.6. Now that seems like nothing, but this is not an optimal set. It's not a complete set. You know, it's just the breastplate, and you know, at certain stages of your character's development, in terms of skill training and gear, an extra 5 points or 3 points is quite valuable. As I was saying, you know, the way the game plays out over the long term, and we're talking about months to years, depending on what skill training rate we end up getting in release, you're going to go through different eras of stat acquisition. So here the stat cap is 100. You can see I'm at 74.3 without the crafting gear on. I'll put the gear on, and that's going to increase. We're going to get up to, I believe, 79.6, something like that. Let's see, 79.6. So close to 80. Now, if I look at the skill tree, I have additional blacksmithing sources here, just in the tree itself, that I haven't finished training. I have an additional more than 20 points. So I'm going to be able to overcap. I'm going to get above 100. And that's with a non-optimal seal-based set of plate, and you know, possibly some additional, definitely some additional attribute training strengthened from my racial tree. So the way it plays out is, early game you're going to go with a particular source of points, stats, to support your crafting, and the same is true for harvesting. But later game you can change that. So for example, in the field, you know, in a non-EK environment, in a release-based campaign, you're going to be negatively impacted in terms of combat performance by wearing crafting gear, but later on you'll be able to switch to combat gear and not need those seals. This is true in a lot of the areas with the caps. It's quite interesting how that plays out. And of course, you know, you have other sources. Jewelry can help you as well, in different qualities. So you're going to be changing your equipment through the lifetime based on where you're at, how long you've been doing it, and what you have access to. So that's the seals tip for a long delayed video, and I have something coming up this week. I'll be doing vessels next, another source of additional stats or attributes. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, that is the bloody point.